What's up, world? Welcome back to another episode of Just Grow It, the podcast. I'm your host, Big City Gardener. Thanks for tuning in. Today, we're going to talk about the essential elements or the essential nutrients and the macronutrients. Now, these are the nutrients that a plant needs in order for it to grow and reach its full potential. If you're lacking in any one of these three nutrients, you will notice deficiencies, and these deficiencies will stop a plant from reaching its full potential. Now, you need to have these nutrients in order to have success at all stages of plant growth. So, from germination to the vegetative state, to the actual flower and fruit production, and then to finally harvesting. All right, so let's get into it. Now, these three essential nutrients, these three macronutrients, these are the numbers you see on the front of any fertilizer bag you pick up. All right, three numbers, and you read them from left to right. They are for nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Okay? If we have too much of any of these nutrients, we'll have over-fertilization problems. If we have too little of these nutrients, we will have deficiency issues. What you'll learn and what you'll notice is that as long as you provide these three nutrients, the plant will basically take care of itself. All right? I mean, eventually you'll have to go in and address the micronutrients. We'll talk about those in a different episode. But for these three essential nutrients, let's get into it. The first number that you'll see all the way to the left, that is nitrogen. Nitrogen deals with the vegetative state of growth of a plant. Okay, so think about when we first plant a tomato transplant into our garden. Before we even see a flower or we can pick a fruit, the plant grows taller and it grows wider. That is the vegetative state. Okay, and all plants need high nitrogen during this vegetative growth. Okay, so how do we know we have a deficiency in nitrogen? Well, you'll notice that the older leaves are yellow and falling off. See, nitrogen works its way, or nitrogen deficiencies, they work their way from the oldest leaves to the newest leaves. So if you notice you have yellowing leaves that you can easily just tap a leaf and it'll fall off, you notice that, or you probably have some sort of nitrogen deficiency and you need to address that. Now, if we have excess nitrogen, what you'll notice is that your plant just grows like crazy. I mean, it'll take off during the vegetative state. It will be amazing. But then you'll notice that it never switches from vegetative to the flowering or fruiting stage. So if you're noticing that you're just having amazing growth, but it's been 2 or 3 months and you haven't seen a flower yet, you may have excess nitrogen, and we need to address that. Now, the second number is phosphorus. And when I think of phosphorus, I think of fruit and flower production, but it also plays a key role in root development as well. But this is the nutrient that you want to pay attention to whenever your plant is done with the vegetative state and it's making its transition into that flowering or fruiting state. We're going to want to have a fertilizer with a higher second number. Now, what do phosphorus deficiencies look like? Man, when I think of phosphorus deficiencies, I think of purple and reddish colored leaves. So if you've ever started seedlings of tomatoes or peppers and you notice that they start to get that purple tint to the leaves, then usually that reminds me to apply something that has a decent amount of phosphorus in it. Now, be careful when it comes to phosphorus, okay? Be careful when you apply any fertilizers that are high in phosphorus, because phosphorus has a tendency to build up in the soil over time. And if you have excess phosphorus in your soil, that can stop your plant from being able to absorb other micronutrients. So if you send out for a soil test and you get it back and it says you have high phosphorus, what I recommend you do is you start to grow some of those nitrogen fixing legumes in your bed. And that can help alleviate some of the issues with phosphorus or excess phosphorus in your soil. Now, the third and final number is potassium. And when I think about potassium, I think about the overall health and vigor of a plant. All right, so we're going to use the tomato plant again as an example. When I see tomato plants growing in the vegetative state, I expect them to be just strong, erect, stiff branches. If I notice any plants start to have droopy branches, droopy leaves, or if I can walk over to a branch and pick it up and it doesn't stand firm and rigid, I start to think I may have a potassium issue, and then I look to correct it. What do potassium deficiencies look like? Whenever I think about potassium deficiencies, I think about some sort of burning around the edge of the leaves. Okay, and now I know that also happens from nutrient burn when we apply a fertilizer that may be too strong for our plant. But if that's not the case, if I am applying the same fertilizers at the same, basically the same strengths that I normally do, and I start to notice a little bit of browning around the edges, then I start to think I may have a phosphorus problem. Or if I look at the underside of the leaves, why do I keep saying phosphorus? I meant potassium. And if I start to look at the underside of the leaves and I notice purple on the bottom, then that's usually a potassium issue as well. If I notice any fading of the leaves, so if I have a green leaf and at the edge it's yellow and it works its way from yellow to green, that is known as, I think, chlorosis. And if I notice chlorosis, then I start to think I have potassium issues as well. All right, so those are our three essential nutrients, our three macronutrients. And remember, as long as we provide the plant with these three nutrients at the proper time, we're really setting ourselves up to have a more successful garden. So keep that in mind. But don't forget this, before we go and start applying fertilizers in our garden or anything of the sort, before we address the macronutrients in our soil, the first thing we need to do is get a soil test done. Once we have the soil test, we will know where our levels stand within our soil, and we will know what we need to add to the plant. Adding excess fertilizers at the wrong time just gives us over-fertilization issues. That's basically it for today. Now we know a little bit more about macronutrients. Don't worry, we will go into more depth and detail about each one of these nutrients and more about the deficiencies in other episodes. But for now, it's time for us to stop listening, or keep listening actually, and go outside and just grow it. And if you're going to just grow it, why not just grow it in a smart pot? That's all, man. I'll see y'all next episode. Take it easy. Before I let you go, I need you to do more than one thing. First, I need you to like, comment, subscribe to the podcast. Second, I need you to tell a friend or two about the show if you enjoyed it. And if you have anybody you think I need to talk to, I should interview, send the name over, put it in the comments, or send me an email, igrow@BigCityGardener. And check me out, man, on Instagram and on all social media platforms, Big City Gardener. We out. Oh, almost forgot. Just grow it.